keep to that. Is it a promise? Should I call it a promise? But I hope I keep to that anyways.
Yeah.
And yes, we are starting everything with you this morning. Everything you need to know, from headlines and all of those things that matters around science, around entrepreneurship, around innovation, around development, around policies, around research. Anything you need to know, everything that matters to you and I. So we have a packed ahead of us, and we can't wait to dive right into the top stories that are making waves this morning. My name is Cynthia Bassi, and of course, I am never alone. And today, I think today seems kind of exceptional. Yeah, your cap and my blazers are matching. Yes. Gabriel, good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Cynthia. You're welcome.
Yes. Okay, that's how we start our morning. And yes, if you like what we do here, like we tell you, we implore you to send in your thoughts, send in your comments, send in your ideas to us at Idea Television, and of course via our social that's on our social media platforms and via our email at Idea TV Limited. So let's take you through the headlines we'll be bringing your way this morning. And the first news story we'll be bringing to you this morning is that Senegal beat Morocco to win Africa Cup of Nations title. Interesting. And then the NCC pushes satellites direct to service to reach 23 million unserved Nigerians. And thirdly, Senegal's workforce grows, but youth and women left behind. And then Kenya plans national livestock feed reserves to tackle drought risk. That and more is what we'll be bringing your way. And later on the discussion segment, something very, very, very crucial, very, very important, something that concerns our health. But then let's go on this quick break. We'll be right back.
Number 3, sustainable tech and green computing. With data centers now consuming around 1 to 1.5% of the world's electricity, efficiency has become critical. Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are racing to power their data centers with renewable energy, while chip makers like NVIDIA and AMD are optimizing for performance per watt. Carbon capture startups are using AI to scale up efficiency, and researchers are designing fully recyclable electronics. In 2024, Microsoft announced it had achieved 100% renewable energy coverage for its global operations. By 2026, green computing will no longer be optional. It'll be baked into how the tech industry operates.
It's good to know that you are still here with us. And in case you're just joining, you're not late. This is the Idea Morning Digest. And yes, Senegal won. Senegal have won the Africa Cup of Nations, defeating host Morocco on nil after extra time in the final played on Sunday night in Rabat. The decisive goal came 4 minutes into extra time at the Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium, ending Morocco's hopes of lifting the trophy for the first time since 1976. Moroccan fans left the stadium in disappointment after a dramatic end to normal time, which included a late penalty awarded to Morocco, and Senegal's goalkeeper Edouard Mendy saved the spot kick following prolonged protests that delayed the match for nearly 20 minutes. Senegal's victory marks their second continental title, adding to their triumph in 2021. While Moroccan supporters praised their team's performance despite the loss, Senegalese fans celebrated a hard-fought win, describing it as a victory not just for Senegal but for African football. I think this is very, very beautiful for African football, because when we step back from the drama of the pitch or whatever happened in the pitch, we look at it and this isn't just a football final. I got to watch a little of it, and it's more like a coalition of all of those expectations, pressure, and all of those everybody's head is on the game. Both people that are playing, fans, everybody's heads were on the game. And for Morocco, who are the people, the country hosting it, the tournament, I think it created like a double-edged sword for Morocco, because home, that home advantage was there, and it's very powerful, and it also comes with that emotional weight because you're at home.
Yes.
A lot of people will be expecting that, okay, especially citizens of Moroccans were expecting that since we are home, we have to, take this win. And, the crowd was expecting destiny to play it, but then at the end of the day, performance showed its own way out of every other thing. And then what stood out to me most importantly here isn't just about Senegal's win. to me, is how they won. I mean, it's not just about how they won. It's more about, you know, what it says about African football right now. I mean, you know, it's more like, let's leave all of those flashy, you know, free flowing. It wasn't just a free win. It wasn't just a flashy win. We saw how it was very gritty. It was very tense. They worked hard for it. It was almost uncomfortable, as a matter of fact. And you know, Edward Mendy saving that penalty wasn't just a goalkeeper doing his job. It wasn't just a goalkeeper doing it. I think the moment summed up Senegal's destiny in that match, if I should put it that way, and their overall identity, you know, at the end of the day. We saw discipline, we saw mental strength, we saw resilience, we saw a refusal to panic under pressure, and that is what I love the most about this football. African football is very, very interesting, very beautiful. And Mendy has been through a lot of career setbacks, if you want to. I'm not that in the know about football that way, but the little I know about Mendy, you know, he has been rejected in Europe. He has had so many setbacks, if I can remember. And, you know, this to me is more like rebuilding his reputation of late. And, you know, moments like this saved the show for Senegal. You know, I just trust the whole of the experience when I was watching it. I trust the whole of the hype. And then this is where, you know, this is where Senegal is, and we are congratulating Senegal. We're celebrating with them at this point in time.
Yeah, honestly, Cynthia, if I'm to come in here, you know, looking at Senegal as marking the second continental victory for Senegal. And, you know, the penalty that was awarded to Morocco yesterday, and they failed on that penalty. It was such a disheartening one, because, I mean, why will you be playing penalty on that ratio? Penalty is supposed to come with a tactical speed and a calculated attempt to make sure that you position the ball on the right angle. He just played the ball to the keeper's hand, and the keeper catch it. I was like, what is this? Though I bet on Senegal to win that one, because I wouldn't want Morocco to win us, because what they did with us last time, there was a misconception of the referee. Yes. There was a misconception of the referee blowing, not supporting us too, and you know. But it's a nice one. I celebrate Senegal and Morocco. They tried.
Exactly.
They tried.
At the end of the day, Morocco losing at home isn't a failure.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all.
I just feel like it's that proof that they can become a serious. I mean, what they even did hosting AFCON.
Yes.
The revenue CAF generated from AFCON, being that it was, you know, hosted in Morocco. I mean, all of those things is still a win.
It's a big win. It's a big win.
This is African football, so it's a win to Africa at the end of the day. So let's move to the next news story we have. The Nigerian Communications Commission says it is moving to adopt satellite direct-to-service connectivity to close mobile coverage gaps affecting more than 23 million Nigerians. The regulator made this known today in a consultation paper published on its website. According to the Commission, national connectivity assessments showed that about 87 underserved clusters remain beyond reliable mobile coverage. Advances in satellite technology now allow standard mobile phones to connect directly to satellites, offering a new way to extend service where traditional networks are costly or difficult to deploy. The NCC says the consultation, which began on Monday, January the 12th, is seeking industry and public input on how the technology can be deployed responsibly while protecting consumers, managing spectrum efficiently, and supporting universal access as Nigerian aligns with global efforts ahead of the World Radio Communication Conference in 2027. And I think this announcement tells us one thing is very clear here, that Nigeria's digital divide is no longer being treated as a side issue. They're consistently finding and looking for ways to, bridge that digital gap. And what the NCC is really saying here is that the old model, all of those built towers, everywhere, hope investors they're just kind of, I think, hoping that investors follow. It's no longer enough. Them hoping that investors will come in is no longer enough. What they are saying is that there are communities where traditional infrastructure simply doesn't make economic sense, and pretending otherwise has cost millions of has caused millions of access to
Satellite.
millions of people
communication.
access to basic communications. So now I think this satellite direct to service is bold. It is also disruptive, and I think it also challenges telecom incumbents. All of those incumbent questions that have been existing, all of those spectrum frameworks that forces regulators to want to think globally, not just locally again. And I feel like that's why this consultation matters. This is more like the NCC admitting that that technology is moving faster and policies are there, but technology is moving faster than policies. And why will technology be moving faster than policies? As technology is moving, there should be policies that are aligning with how this technology is moving for efficiency. And, policy must catch up without breaking the system.
Sure.
So that is what NCC is coming out to say. And I feel like, but then I always have a but. I always have my this year I told them that it's going to be uncomfortable truth, no longer unpopular opinions. But then I think connectivity, we just have to come to the realization, and I like what NCC is doing, that connectivity is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
It's a citizenship infrastructure.
Sure.
We should take it as an infrastructure rather than luxury. And no signal today means exclusion for everybody. Exclusion for education, exclusion for businesses, exclusion services, banking, markets, even governance, name it. So I just feel like this is a must, and that they must look into it. But this must not become another, shiny solution that will just come out and everybody will be like, clap our hands and we'll be happy. And then at the end of the day, it only meets the urban elites, and it will not meet people in the rural areas, people that really need it. It will be only people that can afford expensive, devices. Affordability should meet everybody. It should address everybody's problem. It should address day-to-day problems, and I know simply just create that new digital. It shouldn't create a new digital class system. It should be more like it should meet everybody's needs.
Yeah, honestly, going to the recent advance of satellite technology that can now where people can now access technology directly to satellite is a big one. Because if they can create this avenue, this policy that can really, just like what you are saying, that can regulate, like in which this communication gadget can really meet down to the local places, so they can access it not just for the developmental aspect, down to the rural places. If they can access it, it's a good one. It's a good one. And all right, let's quickly go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue from where we stop. We'll continue the explanation of where we stop. All right.
Number 3, sustainable tech and green computing. With data centers now consuming around 1 to 1.5% of the world's electricity, efficiency has become critical. Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are racing to power their data centers with renewable energy, while chip makers like NVIDIA and AMD are optimizing for performance per watt. Carbon capture startups are using AI to scale up efficiency, and researchers are designing fully recyclable electronics. In 2024, Microsoft announced it had achieved 100% renewable energy coverage for its global operations. By 2026, green computing will no longer be optional. It'll be baked into how the tech industry operates. Number 7, nanotechnology in medicine and electronics. When you shrink technology down to the nanoscale, you open up whole new possibilities. In medicine, researchers are exploring nanoparticles that deliver chemotherapy drugs directly to tumors, reducing side effects. MIT and Brigham and Women's Hospital have developed nanosensors that can detect cancer biomarkers in blood. In electronics, nanoscale transistors are already pushing Moore's law further, with IBM unveiling a 2-nanometer chip in 2021 that promises major gains in performance and energy efficiency. The global nanotechnology market is projected to surpass $250 billion by 2030, showing just how central this field is becoming.
Sorry for that glitch in transmission. You're welcome back. All right, still continuing on the discussion this morning on the IMD. So looking at the NCC push satellite direct reach to the 3 million undeserved Nigerians. Now looking at it says advance in satellite technology now allows standard mobile phones to connect directly to satellite. I mean, this is still a big win if they can actually achieve this. That's what I was just trying to enumerate before we quickly go on a quick break just now. Like, it's a good one if they can really do this and people can have access directly to the satellite without having to go through one or two policies and I don't know how to put it now, commissions to that's regulating this board. If one can easily connect directly to satellites, if they can make it available, I think it's a good one.
Exactly.
If the NNCC can actually bring this on board, it's a good one by Nigerians. It will aid more communication and swift communication by the regulation.
Yes, is that just like you said, education will determine rather whether it becomes transformational. We don't just want it to be talks and then we end it there. But then let's see the next story, and this is in Senegal. Senegal's labor market is expanding, but participation remains limited. And official data from the National Agency of Statistics and Demography shows that just over 55% of people aged 15 and above were active in the workforce in the third quarter of 2025. The figures reveal sharp gaps. Youth participation remains low at under 50%, while adults between 25 and 54 are far more active, increasing pressure on available jobs. Women continue to be significantly underrepresented, especially in rural areas where household responsibilities and limited access to opportunities restrict participation. Experts say the challenge goes beyond numbers. Analysts point to a mismatch between education, vocational training, and labor market needs, warning that without better alignment of skills to jobs, youth and gender gaps will persist despite a growing working age population. I think this is peculiar to what we were talking about the last time, was it last week on IMD? I think this is one of those stories where, numbers will look decent until you ask who is missing. When you look at the workforce properly, it's not just in Senegal. I mean, when you even come down to other African countries, you see that women are missing greatly in the workforce. A growing workforce, first of all, sounds very positive. It is good because it's going to build productivity, it's going to charge up and productivity, is going to jazz up development. But when young people and women are still largely on sidelines, when they do not have jobs, when they are not represented in the workforce, what you are really seeing is pressure building on, under the surface. That's what we fail to see. And, all of these economies they don't just collapse like that. They collapse because sometimes you lack proper manpower with some certain demography, with some certain group of people. It's because people are unemployed, that's why economies collapse. It's because people, feel excluded, that's why economies do collapse. So the youth issue here is particularly very worrying. I mean, I think, was it last year? It was very heated. This similar argument was very heated in Cameroon. Youths were, complaining and contesting being excluded in, politics, in government, in the workforce and whatnot. So I think when young adults are not productively engaged, you will see all of those frustrations will begin to replace ambition. They will begin to build up, and then they'll start looking. We've said this over time. They'll start looking for alternative ways to, get engaged and earn a living. And then that's where you start seeing all those anomalies in the society, things we don't want to see, social deviances and whatnot. And when education system produces, I think we talked about this, was it on Friday on IMD? Because most times in Africa, we reward certificate for competence. And it is not so. Because when an education system produces certificates instead of skills, instead of, what will meet with the labor markets, instead of all those labor markets, they won't just stall. they will also disconnect entirely from reality, because
Sure.
demand can no longer meet supply.
Exactly.
Supply can no longer meet demand, and vice versa. So for women, especially in rural settings, this is about more than jobs for me. And I'm very, very, and I'm saying this with all, is it alacrity? I mean, how would I put it? I'm saying this with vigor, because it's about access. And when we talk about access, we are talking about access to childcare, access to transportation, access to credit facilities, land rights, a lot of things, access to all sort of social permissions. Ignoring all of these barriers, why, quoting participation, statistic is I think it's policy laziness. We have to understand that everybody needs to be included. For us to be counting that, workforce is, the amount of employed people is increasing, who are the amount? We ask ourselves these questions. Who are these people? When youth are still there complaining, when women are still complaining of not being included. So I think the demography here, speaks a lot. It's very loud. It's sounding a gong that we should, Senegal government should, pay attention to, because Senegal has a young population advantage, just like Nigeria. They should pay attention to the advantage that, comes with these young people, because if they fail to pay advantage to these to these young people, it can easily become liability. Young people can easily become liability because of lack of inclusion. So what I see here is that all of this inclusion we're talking about still remains a rhetoric. So they should do better, to just stabilize the society, and it's by including everybody.
Sure. I think you've said it all. Just to add to what you're saying, it says the figure reveals sharp gap. Youth participation remains low at under 50%. Under 50%. As in that is quite low. As in for every nation building, I think the youth contributes not, if not more than the 50% of the growth of any country. Senegal is coming in to say the workflows grows, but the youth and women are left behind. True. If a nation to be built, I think the women also needs to be put in consideration, because they contribute a very high impact and high growth, both in educational sector, in business, in what have you. They contribute more. So I think they should not be left behind.
Exactly. They
should not be left behind. They should have a regulation that looks into the youth impact, and the regulation that governs that every youth, because youth have let's say, I don't know if that word is good to use, more impact in every development of any country and any state. So I think they should look into that aspect and make sure the youth are more involved in both logistic, both education, both scientific aspects, what have you. Because for any country to develop, I think we need a sharp brain, and we need the youth there to be involved. All hands must be on deck for them to really develop the country and of a nation. I think that's what I have to say there in that aspect.
Exactly, Gabriel. You've spoken very well, because, growth that leaves people behind doesn't stabilize society. It's, destabilize them slowly. But then let's see what the last story is saying. And this time we'll move to Kenya, as Kenya announced plans to establish national livestock feed stockpiles to cushion pastoral communities during droughts. The Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development said the reserves will store hay, silage, and other fodder built up during surplus seasons and released early when drought warnings are issued. The plan, announced on Wednesday, will see county governments lead feed planning and distribution with support from the national government, while cooperatives handle last-mile delivery to herders. Agriculture Minister Mutahi Kagwe said the move targets arid and semi-arid regions where livestock remain highly exposed to climate shocks. And the government says the initiative is necessary after repeated droughts accused heavy losses, including about 2.5 million animal deaths between 2020 and 2022. Recent reports show rainfall in affected regions has fallen far below average, worsening the pasture and water shortages and threatening livelihoods across Kenya's pastoral belt. I mean, it's not news because I know Kenya to have very dry lands. And I think this policy tells us that Kenya is finally accepting the hard truth about, climate shocks, and that climate shocks are no longer emergency. They are predictable events. Anytime they take climate issues as an emergency, it worries me, because that means we are not even near the solution to climate mitigation, climate solutions as well. Climate events, most of these climate issues are very predictable. Once you can predict them, you can solve the problem. I think planning feed reserves, coming to Kenya's case now, planning feed reserves, I think is a sign of maturity in agricultural policy. And it also, to me, means that the government is shifting from all of those disaster response. I always talk about proactive measures rather than reactive measures, and this is the case of it again. It means that the government, the Kenyan government, is moving to from a disaster response to disaster anticipation. So it's more like we can predict it, we are expecting it. So when it comes, we know how to, manage it. Manage it. I think that's the right word to even use, to manage it. And I think that's a big deal for pastoral communities, because livestock is not just an income. We should understand that livestock, it's food security. Security itself, it's a means of survival. Also a means of identity too, because, a country can hold on to it and say, can be marked for, this is how they generate money to the country, this is how they help the rest of the world as well. And but I have a little skepticism here, and I think skepticism is healthy in this case, because all of these stockpiles are only as effective as their distribution systems. Because they talked about stockpiles here, I think they are only as effective as their distribution systems and early warning credibility. Because if feeds now arrive late, we look at it's kind of symbolic, because if it arrives early and equitable, it's life-saving rather. So I just feel like there is also a deeper conversation rather, the Kenyan government need to have with pastoral farmers. And I think we are just trying to cushion losses, and we are not helping communities adapt to long-term solutions. So it's not about solving immediate problems. Let's think about long term. Let's think about how we are going to, let the Kenyan government think about how they are going to, carry pastoral farmers along, because reserves does not, they are talking about building reserves. Reserves alone does not solve land degradation and all of those water scarcity, because they are suffering from water scarcity a lot, all of those migration pressure. They will still continue, because if you can only solve the problem for this time and the next time problem persists, there is migration. People want to move and look for another land to do whatever they are doing. So I think what they are just trying to do is just buy time. They should think of the long-term solution. And I think the smartest part of this plan is the fact that they are decentralizing the responsibility to counties, which just like to states, to villages, to so, and to cooperatives as well. So that is what I like about this, and that's where we can say, okay, we are trusting lives in the hands of the people. But however, I think the risk here is if coordination fails. So it should just be coordinated properly, and because all of these climate issues and climate resilience, whatnot, does not fail because of bad ideas. There are a lot of ideas. We've attended so many climate meetings and a lot of things. And yes, I think at the end we should just think about implementation.
Honestly, you just said it all, because there should be a way that they should manage the livestock feed reserve, because it's not just by reserve alone. There should be a regulation that will govern and manage the livestock reserve in that aspect. Because looking at, it says the government says the initiative is necessary after repeated drought causes heavy loss, including about 2.5 million animals dead between 2020 and 2022. So you could see the aspect of the death caused by the livestock, the death by the animals, So it's not, there should be regulation that will regulate this to make sure that it will not repeat itself again, checking the weather and the climate, and just like what you have just said just now. All right, I think that is just what I have to say on that aspect. you know.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the news and review segment. So let's see the news we brought your way. The first news story we brought your way is that Senegal beat Morocco to win the Africa Cup of Nations title. And then the NCC pushes satellite direct-to-device to reach 23 million unserved Nigerians, and Senegal's workforce grows, but youth and women left behind. And lastly, Kenya plans national livestock feed reserves to tackle drought risk. And that is what we have for you. Not today, we are not going, but when we go on this short break and we are back, we'll see what the discussion segments have for us. Very important that you stay with us.
Facebook wasn't the first thing I built. I also built chat systems and games, study tools and music players, and I'm not alone. J.K. Rowling got rejected 12 times before she finally wrote and published Harry Potter. I don't know how to build a dam. I don't know how to get 1 million people involved in anything. Well, let me tell you a secret. No one does when they begin. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started.
Okay, it's good to know that you are still there with us. This is the Idea Morning Digest, and before that break, I told you we were coming back with the discussion segment, and here we are. You have not missed much, and in case you think you have missed much, but no, you have not missed much. This is very important to all of us because, we're turning our attention to a global health warning, and that could soon hit our wallets. It could soon hit our pockets as much as, it targets waistlines. The World Health Organization is calling for, higher taxes on sugary drinks and alcohol, warning that these products are becoming too affordable for how harmful they are. According to the WHO, rising consumption is fueling obesity, diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers, and even violence, placing enormous strain on already stretched health systems. Despite existing taxes in many countries, the WHO says current policies are weak, outdated, and inefficient, especially as inflation continues to make these products cheaper in real terms. So the big question we are asking this morning is that, is taxation the smartest tool to protect public health, or is it just another burden on everyday consumers? So let's break it down, Gabriel.
Yeah.
First of all, I'll just say that WHO is speaking, coming out to tell us, and then what really strikes me here is who is speaking and why it matters. This is the World Health Organization, It's not a tax authority that will begin to complain that they want to come and, put tax here, especially Nigerians now, it will start putting them in panic, And I think this is a public health body coming out, the World Health Body coming out to say this is a problem. So when WHO starts talking about a problem like this, talking money, it's usually because health numbers are rising in an alarming manner, and we need to pay attention. And this is about morality, it's about lifestyle, it's about our health above all. And, it's also about risk management too, because they talked about, the security challenges, some of this misuse of alcohol and whatnot is posing to, the society as well. So who is essentially saying, we are spending more treating preventable diseases that are, than we are preventing them. Yeah. That is what they are saying. We are there selling things where they do not, most of these products do not have tax on them. Some of them, I don't know how they even get into the country sometimes, and I think it's a very powerful shift, because it tells me that health conversation has moved from hospitals to policy tables, and that is the important place it needs to move to, aside the hospital, because I think people are used to getting warnings and information and awareness triggers and whatnot from public health practitioners, and then we are used to it. We're like, okay, it's coming from them. They don't start again. What's this man saying? What's this influencer doctor's name? Aproko doctor. When he comes out and says Nkechi, do this and do that, everybody will be like, this one has started again, let him go and check his own health. But then this is from policy, this is from a policy table. And it's very, very uncomfortable because, first of all, let's talk about why, you know, the affordability argument is very central here, because I think when harmful products get very cheap, you know, when they become very cheap, consumption will rise. Yes, it will rise, it will increase, it will spread, it will move from occasional indulgence to daily habit, because I can afford it, why won't I take it? So all of these things is very dangerous too. I think affordability here now is now becoming a problem. It's now becoming a central problem, and this is especially critical in low and middle income countries where sugary drinks are now very, very cheap than, you know, bottled water. You get bottled water in Nigeria, the lowest is like for 250, and you can get some drinks for like some of these not so good carbonated drinks for like even 200. There are some that are still sold for 150. Yes, shockingly. So you can get all of this alcohol. Some of them are even being sold in sachet that you can get for 100 naira, 50 naira, 70 naira, all of those bucks.
And the most funniest aspect, most of these products, most of these drinks, most of these sachets, they are not registered. So now, the area of taxation being the smartest tools, can it actually protect it? Is it possible? Because now it's discovered that most of these products that are being sold in the market, most of them, they are harmful. Most of those products, they are harmful, like ranging from all those alcoholic drinks and even the sugary drinks that we think is a safe one to buy, and you know most of these things, there should be a regulation, a policy to guide this particular product, because these things, they are harmful to the body.
Exactly.
And the cost of treating a disease by this some of these harmful drinks, you know, is more to buying it, because just like what you said, you can just buy a drink of 100 naira or 200 naira, or which is alcoholic and sugary content, and it can destroy your kidney. Exactly. Destroy your body system, and you end up spending more than what we even used to buy the drink. You know, so WHO coming in to raise this alarm, you know, is taxation. It can actually, is the smartest? They are outdated. There are some taxes that they have not reviewed for over a long time. There are some taxes that there are some products that are not even being taxed because they do not even know if some of those products exist, or we are just